on Table Crashers all alone, so I could just make things up.
The Carla edit button isn't next week now. So.
It's not. Yeah, watch out. So she's in Seattle right now. We just got back from OrcaCon, which was an amazing convention. I highly recommend anybody in the Pacific Northwest to go. We actually didn't have a booth, so we were able to play games the entire convention, and it was amazing.
Wait, you got to go as attendees?
Yes. Oh my God. It was so much fun. I played a 4-hour game of Resistance. Each round took an hour. It was amazing.
How many people were playing?
10 people. And it was just going back and forth and everything. And it was like, and if you don't know what this game is, it's just a light social deduction game, but people were taking it ridiculously seriously, and it was amazing. Yeah. I had so much fun.
I love the Avalon variant of Resistance. That hooked me. So we're here tonight talking about Animal Kingdoms, which is actually in a new joint venture that you and Carla are part of with another individual, Galactic Raptor Games. Do you want to sort of give us a little brief overview of what Galactic Raptor is, what you guys stand for, and all that fun stuff?
Yeah, so it was probably about March timeframe of last year when we went to the Atlanta Proto Spiel. And we've been talking with Dan Letzring from Letterman Games, and we said, hey, we want to do something where we can just make more games. He wants to make more games. We wanted to make more games, and we said, let's team up, and we can make more games that way. So we got with him. He's got a certain set of skills. Little
Liam Neeson right there.
Yeah, and we've got a certain set of skills, and we were able to mesh everything together. He's really good at logistics and pulling people together, and we're pretty good at developing games, kickstarting stuff, and so we kind of came together and formed this new company. We said, let's do a new company so it's separate from our individuals, and so it's not like a merger where we merged game companies. It's just in addition to that we get to work on. It's kind of like a side project, but I guess not really.
Well, no, it's actually, and that's what's really cool about it. Because when you guys first announced it, I was like, oh no, they're not killing off the Weird Giraffe brand, and the Letterman Games, they're not going to. And then you guys talked about this joint venture that's going to be a separate entity, and I was intrigued because I was like, wow, this is a really interesting way of looking at it, and I would see as a bit of a new idea in the industry, especially for someone that's on the small to medium output area, right?
Like, yeah, and that's exactly it. It allows us to continue doing what we want to do with our own separate brands. So Dan is going to keep running Letterman Games, and he gets to do the games that he wants to do, and it allows us to keep Weird Giraffe Games to be that weird kind of game that you haven't seen with a different kind of theme or different kind of mechanics, and supporting minorities in the industry. And Galactic Raptor allows us to kind of pool our resources and come together to make these bigger, epic kind of different games.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So I guess let's look at the flip side of going into this together with essentially another partner. Were there any challenges that you guys encountered when you were spinning up this publication partnership to form the Galactic Raptors Games?
Yeah, it's definitely really hard to form a business with one person in one state and one person in another state. Yeah. So if anyone really doesn't know, so Carla is kind of like the face of Weird Giraffe Games, and I do kind of the behind the scenes stuff that she doesn't want to do. So I do the paperwork and the business kind of stuff, and Dan really doesn't like doing that stuff either. So I'm doing that for Galactic Raptor Games, and it was kind of hard. It took us almost a month and a half to open a bank account, just because we had to get everybody to sign everything and get information together and stuff. But it's also been a challenge in the design front. What's been really fun, specifically with Animal Kingdoms, is working in addition with Dan on this, is working with the designer, Stephen Aramini. It's hard for me to pronounce his last name. So Stephen's been fun to work with, and he's he's been part of the process the entire time, as we going back and forth, and having Carla with her development hat on and designing the solo mode for the game, Steven with being the game designer, and Dan also as kind of a developer. It's been an interesting process to go back and forth, and I think really it's resulted in this amazing game that has come together here, but because of just all of these different diverse viewpoints.
Right. And I think we'll jump right into that right now, because I think it's a good jumping point. This one, Cardboard Edison of 2018, is that correct?
That's right. Yep, last year.
And which that's kind of a big deal. So I mean, that implies that there's an elegance in that game design right up front.
Mm-hmm.
The game that won the Cardboard Edison and the state it's in now, is it the same, or through developments have things been even cleaned up more and become more elegant? Do you guys feel?
So the core of the game is still there, and essentially we've talked to some of the judges of Cardboard Edison to take their feedback, because if you don't know about Cardboard Edison and you're a designer, I highly recommend that you submit your game there, because if you don't win, you also get this feedback from these amazing game designers, developers. So we took some of that feedback, incorporated it into this final, and kind of iterated on it. There were some parts that didn't kind of mesh. This is a light area control game. Right. There was not really, it was kind of, it was, like you said, elegant, and everything kind of came together, but there was no super high points. Right. And we were actually talking with J.R. Honeycutt at Origins about this, who was one of the judges for the Cardboard Edison. And he said, you know what, there should be some Ameritrash battle mechanic.
So tension.
Like
when you say the word high point, you mean there was no tension?
There was no like, oh my gosh, I just won, or oh, I just lost point. And so we kind of took that feedback and put it in the area control. If you're tied, there's just, it goes from almost a Euro feel to boom, Ameritrash, because we break ties with the with just play a card, high card wins, with some caveats on it. Right. And so you get that point swing with some tension right at the end of a round.
But I mean, so the argument, I mean, that you bring, this is actually interesting, because you jump to another thing with this, and but the interesting thing is that there's that argument going on within the community, the board game community, the consumers, of like Ameritrash versus Euro. Like, I want to chuck a bunch of dice, I want a heavy worker placement, and there's almost like this weird like split between the players even in this point, where it's like, oh, you play with dice, I can't play that game, or like, oh, that's too heavy for me. What are your thoughts on that, and like the way it's developing, and how do you guys navigate sort of trying to hit all of those groups and make them all happy in a way?
So what's really interesting and cool about Carla and I working together is that Carla is super strategic, and she loves strategy. She really hates when you've got any luck whatsoever. And because she's so good, I can't win unless there's some luck involved. So I actually like the Ameritrashy kind of games where it's like, boom, I win because I have this ridiculous card, or oh, I got an awesome dice roll. So we're able to both work together and kind of bring in each of the parts of the games that we both like, which I think makes a game that you can play with both types of players.
Right.
Because here in Animal Kingdom, it is strategic. We're going to see as we play through the game that there's decisions being made when you're playing cards. Even though it's super simple, the cards have just numbers on them, and you're kind of set collection matching, play them. But holding cards back, just in case you get to that battle at the end of the round, makes it kind of interesting. Oh, do I meet that, or do I hold that card back?
Do I go for this territory with that next card I need, or do I hold this 9 or 8 or whatever for that battle? Interesting. Very interesting. So you professionally are an engineer, but you work for NASA, correct?
I do. So I'm a rocket scientist.
You're a rocket scientist. Um,
Rocket scientist by day, board game designer by night is what my official bio says on weirddraftgames.com.
so aside from theme, because obviously I think theme plays into it in a lot of ways for you guys. Like what, and granted, I know you talk about how Carla is usually the creative driving force, but I think some of your influences obviously bled into that, and you guys I think both have joint interests in like internet, like space travel and things like that. But how does your role in life, in your day-to-day 9 to 5, well, the reality is no job's 9 to 5 anymore, but
Yeah.
how does that influence your role within the creation process of the games you're
so I like space. My Twitter handle is @StellarNick. So I'm very spacey. I want to be an astronaut when I grow up and go to space. I work with astronauts every day, and it's amazing.
That's awesome.
I think theme is definitely a huge driver in what we do. It's very important for us that the mechanics of the game reinforce the theme. I think one of my favorite games that does that is right behind me, Coldwater Crown. What's really cool is they've got this mechanic. It's a fishing game, and I'm not a big fisher kind of person. But what's really cool in that game is how it's worker placement. On your turn, you get to place one worker and then pick up a worker. And so like the action of doing that is you're fishing. And I'm mechanically doing part of the theme. And I'm like, this is amazing. I love that. And I love when theme is reinforced by the game mechanics, and that's what we make sure that we do. One of the challenges that we had with Animal Kingdoms is when Stephen Aramini brought it to us, and when it won Cardboard Edison, is that we really it was very much an abstract kind of game. It's almost like, okay, so there's animals, but really it's abstract area control with playing cards.
Were there always animals? Was that always the theme, or was that something you guys sort of defined as you went along the development?
So Stephen designed it with animals in mind. So it has always been called Animal Kingdoms. We at one point we were struggling with trying to figure out, is there a better theme for this game? So we were thinking, obviously dragons are awesome. So it could be dragons taking over a magical land. But we ended up settling on animals, and it's a different. It's an interesting kind of case. It's more of animals with no human interaction. So you can kind of think of it's an abstractee where these 5 animal kingdoms are that you're vying as a group of animals for control over the entire island, and that's made up of these 5 territories that are governed by different animals. So in the game, you're not necessarily just one animal, you are a group of animals. So you have all kinds of different animals, from like red foxes or red pandas to tigers to okapis that are all and you kind of send them over into these kingdoms because the king likes those kind of animals being as part of their kingdom. So you win over influence. We were able to kind of convince ourselves that it's a really cool theme. I think I just didn't get what Stephen was trying to go for until a little bit later on in the process.
So I go, okay, I understand because in my mind, when I hear light area control, my mind automatically triggers to, okay, I'm battling for that area, or I'm fighting for it in some way. But in your sort of the way that this thematically arranged itself, these animals are almost sentient. Well, they are sentient beings, and each of them is ruled by a ruler, and they're recruiting their armies at this point. So they're not technically fighting. It's more of like them trying to get the best recruits from the animal kingdom to join their side.
Yeah, it's almost like a Cold War kind of thing, where it's you are gaining influence over the kingdom by appeasing the king. So your group of animals is strategically putting different ranks of animals in different kingdoms depending on what that king wants. What's really neat about this area control game is once we get down into it, you'll see there's a certain number of spaces, and each of the 5 kingdoms have a different number of influence spaces that are allowed to play there. So it's different. And then at the end of the round, whoever does win that, or whoever plays in that kingdom last, it's not necessarily the person who wins the influence battle over that round. That last influence goes into the console position, and so it stays for the rest of the game, and you have a permanent extra influence in that kingdom.
Okay. So we'll definitely we'll definitely see that better too when we get to show them the board too in the latter half here. So what are, and you can answer this either as Nick Kopp or as Carla or as the with Galactic Raptor Games at this point. What are your predictions for independent creators in 2019? Good or bad?
So yeah, I mean, that's an interesting topic. I've been looking at it, and every time we go to a con, I try to get to like one of the industry panels to get a feeling for where the industry was. I got to the PAX Unplugged industry panel that had retailers, distributors, the big guys. It had what's his name from Renegade, Scott. I think from Renegade was on there, and then it had some of the reviewers, and they were kind of talking about where the industry is going. And right now there are a lot of board games coming out.
Yeah.
So the industry is really going to, I think, in this next year or two, we're going to hit our limit where not everybody can actually put out a board game on Kickstarter anymore.
Right.
You can't just have an idea and go, I'm going to make this. You have to have some capital behind it, because the backers are demanding that the game have awesome art and be finished by the time it gets to Kickstarter before they'll actually back it, because they can only back 1 or 2 over the next like 3 or 4 months.
Right. Now, and this is why I present to you in not even a counter argument, but I'll play the devil's advocate. Is it that the backers and the consumers have come to demand that, or is it that the industry, some people with more capital have been able to pour it in and create that need in the backers? What do you think? What came first in this?
Let me say yes.
Okay.
Well, I think, I mean, it's exactly what you see in capitalistic economies. It's whoever, I mean, people see that there is actually somebody will pay for a game on Kickstarter, so they'll go there. So originally it's the people who have ideas, and then that evolves into, oh, this looks really cool, let's do that, and then this, and then this, and then all of a sudden you're at the top level where you've got to bring in these like 3-foot minis and a completely designed game before the backers go, oh yeah, that looks really cool. So it is the industry trying to one up each other. But I don't know at one point where it goes, maybe at this point now we are not seeing really cool games from people who don't have the resources, because there is now almost a barrier to entry that some people have. I mean, you still see the stuff getting funded that's not super crazy awesome.
You do, but it's not at the level that sometimes it did before. You know, like, and I think it's harder for those small designers to be able to establish a business following even a successful Kickstarter at this point, because the volume that you need to springboard into a business, you guys know this all too well. The volume needed to actually springboard into a business isn't necessarily the amount that you would get from that funding. You need sometimes double or triple the initial funding amount. One observation I could throw out there, I thought it's funny. I watch and I look at some of the miniature stuff that's going on in Kickstarter, and there's now this like argument from backers that they won't back until they see actual 3D printed miniatures. Like they're not satisfied anymore with renders. Like they'll even call it out. They'll be like, well, that's a render, and until I see a printed miniature, I'm not going to back this. It's like, are you serious? Like, come on. Like, do you know how much it costs even, and especially when they're super elaborate, sometimes you need to know that you have the funding before you can even run a print of that. But that's how crazy the back and forth is at this point in the industry. Semi-related, different tangent. you're at NASA. You love space. You love space travel, exploration. Same line of questioning in a way. I'm a big space nut. I love what happened with the lunar lander from China. I love what's going on with Ultima Thule. I love all the amazing things that are happening in my lifetime with the program. What are your future? What's your outlook? What's your outlook on space exploration? I guess from a NASA standpoint, but also as a human species, human race. Where do you think we're going to be in the next couple of years?
Yeah. So let me start with the obvious disclaimer that I don't speak for NASA because I'm not their PR person. So this is me, Nick Kopp, talking my views that I've had. And so growing up, I've always been in space somewhere. I started with my my grandfather pulled out, created his own telescopes and showed me cool views of the moon, awesome. and that led to studying that stuff in school and going to aerospace engineering as my bachelor's degree, and then coming down to Huntsville and working in the Rocket City. I've gotten to work on the International Space Station. I've gotten to work on the new NASA rocket, the SLS rocket. And all throughout, so the last 10 years or so where I've actually been in the industry, I feel like we are so close to being able to actually go to space ourselves. I don't know if you saw, but Virgin Galactic just got into space the first time with their new Spaceship 2, which will be able to take people to the edge of the atmosphere. It's not orbit, but it is space, so it's close enough.
Let me pause you for 1 second. Based on your breathing pattern and how wide your eyes are getting, I can see how excited you are about the prospects at this point. I love it. I'm in the same boat.
Actually, I love going to work every day. I look forward to Monday because I like going into work and helping us get to the next step in space. And what's really cool is I work on cutting edge stuff right now. I'm helping run science experiments on the space station, which it advances the human race. And advances space travel, and so I'm personally involved with getting us to that future that I want to be at, where I get to go to space and go. I want to set the world record for the number of flips in a space station or something, because I just want to be zero gravity. I think be weightless would be awesome. But I think we're almost there. And I've been saying it for the last 10 years, but really I think we are. I think in the next 2 to 3 years, we're going to get to the point where people can pay to go to space. And then in the next 5 to 20, it might be me who's able to do that and afford it. So really cool. Back Animal Kingdoms on Kickstarter.
Well, I mean, the first part of the interview, and it's what we want to know about you individually. But we're going to we're definitely going back to that. I just want to go on a tangent because I know it's what you're passionate about.
Yeah, no, I mean, you saw our second game was Stellar Leap.
Absolutely.
Because I like space. Carla also likes space. That's why we're here. It's amazing.
It's literally how you're able to do what you're doing. Part of your income is from helping that as well.
Oh yeah. It enables us to make great games. So it's great.
So before we jump to the table, I did want to ask if you had any other plugs that you wanted to throw out there, any thank yous for the project thus far, Animal Kingdom, anything you want to say to current backers or future backers for the project.
Yeah, no, I really appreciate everybody who's already backed us on Animal Kingdoms. We've got, looking over here, 559 backers as of now. Awesome. Right now, we're over 200%, and we're well on our way to reaching all of our stretch goals. And it's been an amazing process to see the support come out for this game. And I really think it's well deserved, because Steven's been working on this game for 2 years, and I think it's an amazing, great game that he's created here. And it's amazing that Katie has done some like insane artwork. I think I'm pretty sure this is her first time doing art for a board game project, and it's been an amazing process working with her. I just keep getting calls from NASA. I don't know why. They're like, stop talking! Don't talk about the aliens. It's like, no. Like, oh, but I think Katie's done an amazing job with the artwork on here. Yes. I think Dan and Carla have done an amazing job working everything together to pull this game together, and I don't think this could have happened without any of those people, because they've done such an amazing job for this, and it's great that the backers are obviously seeing some really cool stuff here, and we've got some more amazing stretch goals planned. I can't wait to get those out there. There are more meeples for the deluxe edition planned, and I don't know
how would be saying stop, Nick. Right
She's
now.
Like stop. I don't know. I hear her in. Yeah, I don't know how we can make a game from Galactic Raptors without a dinosaur meeple. So I think maybe we'll get there.
Nick, you're so grounded. I know it.
I'm grounded. I'm busted.
The other thing too, any conventions that you guys are, I know you guys are definitely going to Unpub, but what else, what's up next for you guys for convention?
Yeah, so right now on the schedule booked is Unpub 9 up in Baltimore in March. We'll be there. We'll be there as publisher. We'll be testing games. We'll be looking at pitches. So if you're a designer, I highly recommend everybody go to Unpub. It's an amazing event. I was not able to go to 8 because I had a friend's wedding. But Carla went. She's like, yeah, I don't care about your friends. I'm going to go to Unpub. But I can't wait to go because everybody had an amazing time there. So we'll be there. We'll be at Origins at demoing. We've got a 10 by 20 booth, so we'll have a huge booth there.
That's great.
So excited that we got rejected for Gen Con booth, so I can be at Gen Con to actually just play games. So that's amazing. So but we'll be at Gen Con, and then I'm hoping that we get down to Dice Tower. Probably we'll get down to Dice Tower, and I really want to go to BGG for the first time. Upcoming
so you guys are going to flip this year and do BGG rather than PAX, or you're going to try to do both?
I want to do both. But PAX has been an amazing show that we cannot not go. So I'm sure we'll be at PAX. Also, I'm just hoping that we get to BGG as just to have fun and play games.
Of course.
Yeah.
They did split them a little bit too, so you do have like about a week in between. But that's pretty rough.
Which is great. Well, you're already in like Dallas, so it's got a big airport. So
that's true. Dallas to Philly. So
yeah,
not too bad. We touched on your guilty pleasure games and all the other questions you guys last time you were on.
Mm-hmm.
But what would you say? I don't know if I asked you this last time, but what is your favorite game mechanic in a board game?
So I really like social deduction, and what sucks is Carla hates it. So I enjoy thinking about how you can use like emotions and basically human feelings in a board game. So it's a mechanic in these games, and I like being able to like read somebody or try to figure out logically why would they do something like that, or is it a blind or a double blind or a triple blind. I've recently played Lay Waste's new game about time machines, Human Era.
Oh yeah, Human Era.
I love it as a social deduction game because it's also got board game mechanics in it, or card game mechanics. So Carla will play Human Era because it's not just about reading people. It's also, they played this card, so obviously they're part of this thing.
Right. So she can, via the card mechanics, she could sort of strategically surmise Whereas
yeah,
you're cool with either way, like just guessing. And I agree. I like the heated arguments that happen in games like that, like Dead of Winter. I love playing when you throw the trader card in the deck to shuffle.
oh yeah.
I am a big fan of that, but it's funny
I
because
like
sometimes
being the hidden trader. I think that's my favorite part.
Yeah.
I like when I know something that other people don't know, and you're able to manipulate people's feelings. That's probably one of my favorite aspects of the game. I was able to play. I don't know if you played Emergence, but I was able to. I didn't know the Emergence designers were in the Seattle area, and they had their next version, which is so it's a social deduction game, but with a board game in there. So there's also moving pieces around a hex board. And what's the neat thing, I love the theme of this game, is that the AI have taken over, and the humans are kind of like this rebel force, kind of like in the Matrix. But the game is the AI are the good guys, and the humans are the bad guys or the traitors in the game. So it's like the most people are, and you're openly, oh no, I'm an AI. I swear I'm an AI. And so I really like that aspect, bringing that theme in.
Yeah. So back Animal Kingdoms.
Let's go back.
Yeah. Bring it back. But that's perfect. And what we're going to do now, so everybody who's watching, we're going to well, before we crash the table, Nick, I want to thank you for being our guest for the interview today. And I wish you guys the best of luck on your Kickstarter. I think you guys are going to be doing amazing things in the future with both of your enterprises, Galactic Raptor Games and Weird Giraffe. Keep up the amazing work. We love it over here at Geek Spiel. But please, everybody check it out. And also, if you guys catch the VOD this week, make sure you catch our shows later this week so that you can enter to win the raffle. All right. So thank you, Nick.